There we go.
All right.
All right. All right. This is John Krause here with another episode of True Story Bro. I'm excited. This is episode, I think it's episode 5. Today, I've got a guest. His name is Mike Smith. He is a guy that I also have met through my coaching group called King's Council Coaching. And very, very happy to have met him and come across and starting to build a relationship. Learning a little bit about Mike so far. I mean, just from what he's told me, he's got again, you just never know where people come from. You know, like Mike's told me about this guy's played in bands and all sorts of instruments and lived in places like Detroit, I believe. And now he's in Florida. So, but he's got an awesome story of overcoming massive obstacles. And he's a warrior of Christ. He's a man of faith. And I just can't wait for him to share his story, because I just know it's going to help people. And that's the whole reason why we're doing this. So Mike, without further ado, why don't you give us a quick intro, who you are, kind of just like your background of like where you started life, and just tell us some cool stuff about you, you know, and then we'll get into your story, because that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Just I'll start with right now. I'm very happily married man. My wife Lillian, we've been married almost 15 years. It'll be 15 years in April. So we live in Florida, and she's been the best blessing of my life, and I'll get into that later. But I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and had a wonderful upbringing. You know, like all kids, a lot of playing outside and just having a lot of fun. And oddly enough, when I was very young, one of my obsessions was the garbage man. So I always wanted to be a garbage man. That's all. Some of this.
That's funny. That's awesome. No, it's not odd to me, though. It's not odd to me. My younger brother wanted to be a garbage man too. So
yeah. So when I was 4 years old, I got a record player. I got my first record player, and the first thing that I heard in my ears was Creedence Clearwater Revival, and that hooked me on music. I was literally hooked on music from a young age. Started playing guitar when I was 8 or 9. And I became this like trivia. I was like Google for music before Google was around. It was all about the bands and everything. Started playing drums when I was 12 years old. So music was an obsession all of my young life. I had a great upbringing, great parents. In some ways, I would say overlove. My mom was an angel for sure. 3 meals a day, all the pampering, all the encouragement. She was an assistant at my grade school library, so there were some perks there as well, but had a great upbringing. And when I was 14 years old, things took a terrible turn, really. My father, who was a great man, we were really becoming close as I was starting to go to the gym with him. We were at the gym one night, and he had some chest pains. He came home, and my mom suggested he go to the hospital. He reluctantly did that. When he got there, they kind of embarrassed him. Said, you know what, you probably got heartburn, could be a height.
Oh, wow.
So he came home.
Wow.
And the following week, the same thing happened to the day. He came home. My mom suggested he go. He didn't go. And I, at the doorway to my mom and dad's bedroom, I watched him as he cried out to God, going through some pain for about half an hour. I watched him die right in front of me.
Wow.
So that's when my world got shattered. 14 years old, boom, done.
Wow.
Not long after that is when I started to play in bands, and I got introduced to alcohol. So alcohol kind of became my parent in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from the get-go, I could really I could party with the best of them, so to speak, consume a lot of alcohol, didn't affect me. And I kind of wore that as a badge for a long time.
Yeah.
So playing in bands only fueled that, along with the other stuff that comes with it, you know, the girls and, you know, all the other goodies. So that went on until I was 19, when I got my first DUI, which really didn't affect me too much. It kind of ticked me off. I stopped drinking for a short time.
Yep.
And then I was back into it. And the crowds that hung around, all great guys and gals, but all partiers. And my house was party central. Even from the time I was young, we had the pool and I had a tent in the backyard. So my house was always the gathering point. So it continued to be that as the band practiced at my house. We practiced there for, 15 years, really. My mom loved it. She was really a counselor to a lot of the guys. She was an amazing woman, just, helping guys deal with their junk. Anyway, so she got cancer in 1993. And she went into remission shortly after that. And then they hit her with a triple dose of chemo because it came back. The doctor really wasn't listening to what she was saying, so they just kept medicating her. And she passed away in my arms when I was 29 in 1995. So that fueled the addiction even more. And I was not born again. I didn't know the Lord, but I knew, I prayed and I knew God, but my coping mechanism, was the alcohol. So I dove into that pretty heavy. And in 1997, I gave my head to the Lord, not my heart.
Mhm.
And it was like, I really, life was changing, things were changing. I was living with my girlfriend at the time.
Mhm.
And it's like, I don't want, there's something going on in me. I knew it was taking me deeper into a relationship with God. But because I didn't give my full self, didn't give my heart, in 2001 and 2003, I was, and I say blessed, with 2 more DUIs. So that cost me my license, my perfect credit, all the
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
My new vehicle was blocked off from the driveway. So that's when things really started to change for me. And in 2000,
How old were you when this happened?
I was in my 30s.
Okay.
I was
Yep.
35 and
Gotcha.
36, right in that area.
Mhm.
So at that point, I remember the night the last one happened. And I got home from being in the dry out tank for 12 hours or so.
Mhm.
Got on my knees and I just said, Lord, not only do I not want to drink anymore, there's a mindset here. There's something going on. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Please help me. And I got up off the floor and I went to a passage of scripture, which I'd never read before, which was Isaiah 1:18. And basically says, although your sins are as red as crimson, I'll make them white as wool if you'll only obey me. And I got up off the floor, sat on my bed, and he took that addiction like that. I mean, it was gone. I didn't realize it at the time, but he took all the affections for alcohol, all the want to drink and the partying, he took it away in a second.
It's beautiful.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was, that was, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind since. I've never thought, hey, it'd be a nice day for a beer. And I've been around alcohol because I
Yeah.
continue to go to concerts,
Yeah.
weddings and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the thing that it really, God opened the door and let me know was the alcohol was a symptom. It was a symptom of the underlying emotional problems and the fact that I couldn't deal with life.
Right.
So it's really the answer to your problems in a sense when you're in the
Yeah.
middle.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So that's unbelievable. What a story. And I want to get into more kind of what you're doing now, your works, but
Yeah.
Again, just to kind of back up. I mean, you went through some things from such an early age of 14, and I think that there's people that you're going to serve on this call just from what you saw happening to your dad, the fact that, he didn't ignore things, right? He went to obviously your mom kind of urged him a little bit, right? But he went to the doctor and he addressed it, but unfortunately healthcare was, a lot different. Heartburn is a lot of people always thought that was the case. I mean, that must have been just absolutely terrible to watch that. But also, I think the people that, again, I have a good friend of mine who now he's my age, in his 40s, had some chest stuff going on and didn't, thank God he didn't ignore it. He didn't ignore it because he went in to get checked out, and they immediately said, we got to go in and give you a triple or a bypass. You know what I mean? So I think there's people that out there still today that are ignoring things that their body is kind of telling them, to do. So that, I think you're going to help people just that alone, get with the program. Don't ignore your body.
Yeah, I think us as men, a lot of times,
Yeah.
we're going to tough it out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a task, and I think, that's my dad's pride was hit when that happened, the
Right.
first time. So,
Yeah.
um, but a lot of, there's contributing factors too. I want to put this in there because this has been something I've had to deal with. My dad, uh, was under a great deal of inner stress. Now, he started off in showbiz as
Mhm.
an MC and doing some stand-up work,
Mhm. Of
and he ended up working in a factory, and he hated it.
course.
It was not who he was.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, and I'm coming out of it now after years. I was in construction as a painter for years,
Right.
profession, everything, but I'm a creative. I write,
Right.
I speak. I'm in the ministry, and I like care ministries type things. So
Right.
it was. I go in there every day and go, man, I'm empty, and I
Yeah.
see how that affects you. It can affect of course, your emotions, but your health too.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, you got to follow your dreams. You got to follow your passions. If there's a will, there's a way. You've got to just, I mean, that can do a lot to somebody, having to be stuck in something that they absolutely hate. And there's a lot of people in social media these days that speak about just do what you love. If you can make money doing what you love, then you're good. I mean, and that's kind of I think that's what people are starting to come into now, especially with COVID. It's forced a lot of people to change their mindset on career, on, do I want to go back to that office that I hate going back to? A lot of people are making a shift in their day to day, which I think is maybe a silver lining of some of this that's gone on. But as far as like, again, so you lost your father at a young age, and you really lost your mom at a pretty young age too. 29, that's pretty young. And that's the other half. I mean, as I've got experience in the cancer world, and and the medications and the treatments they're terrible. I mean, they alone can take their toll on somebody, just the treatment alone. And I hear that often, that just the chemo alone is what does the people in. But being 29 now, being without a dad and a mom, I mean, I can only imagine where you were. I mean, and how that must have been so stressful for you. And was that the time where that was where you had more DUIs, right? And then I feel like those are I don't know, maybe you could tell me different. It sounds like those are the taps on the shoulder that I often refer, by God, like, hey, I'm here. Like, listen, I'm here. And it seems like this is when you kind of started
yeah,
listening.
yeah. I was. You've heard of that? There's a poem. It's called "Footprints in the Sand,"
Mm-hmm.
where God's carrying.
Absolutely.
I saw one not long after that. It was called "Butt Prints in the Sand."
Oh, no way.
When God drags you to what he says, "Listen to me, please."
Yeah.
That's what he did with me. It was
Yeah.
taps on the shoulder, then it was, the butt prints, and then it was kind of the gut punch in a sense. But
Yeah.
that's what a loving father does. I think sometimes we romanticize love. Love is about discipline too. A good father
Yeah.
doesn't want to, if his son's running out into traffic, he's not going to negotiate. He's going to grab him by the hair if he needs to and yank him away from trouble.
True.
That's what he did,
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a huge turning point. But
yeah. Well, it's what was that verse in the Bible? Isaiah
118.
118. I want people to definitely take note of that and listen to that, and take read of that. And in fact, maybe I'll title this chapter that verse, because I think there's a lot of significance for you, obviously, but I think a lot of people can get a lot of value out of that chapter verse.
Yeah, and maybe at the end I'll open my Bible. There's a couple other verses within that, but that was in the context of what it was saying.
Sure.
It just hit me. It's one of those things. Some verses are promises for certain people, certain times, but I always believe we can use the principles, and that was a principle to me that jumped out, and it definitely applies universally.
That's beautiful. So talk to me about where you went from there. Like, all right, things are beautiful now. What was your next move?
After the DUIs?
Yeah, it sounds like that everything got really good, right? Tell me, take me from there.
Yeah, I was required to go to 4 outpatient programs.
Okay.
So one of those that I chose was a program called Lifecare or Lifeshare at the time. Now it's Lifecare at my church.
Yeah.
So I went there. We were at a very large church. It was about 10,000 people at that time.
Wow.
So I went to this program. The first night I was there, this, I would say, beautiful little 5 foot tall woman was giving her testimony about suicide attempt, drugs, alcohol. And it just, it struck me. And and at that time I had not been married. I didn't get married until I was 41. So I had not been married and was with my girlfriend about 9 years, and we broke up. That was a few years before, but I had dated as a Christian and really just was trying to get my relationship right with God. Well, anyway, so I was attracted to this testimony and this woman. I got involved in Lifeshare at that point, and that's when I really started to grow. Things started to happen. I shared my testimony for the first time not long after that. Anyway, we became friends, and I was one of the main drummers in the church. And, this Lillian is her name, my wife to be. I didn't know that at the time. She asked me to be in the praise band, so I did. We became friends, and I was like, I believe this is the one. Now, she didn't believe the same thing. So I'm a writer, so I would write poetry and whatnot. She'd write back and be like, "Thank you very much. Have a great day."
That's right. That's fun.
4 years after we met, we got married. And that's when things got really good.
That's awesome.
Life's been challenging, of course, but God started to piece together what we call Lifecare now. We took Lifeshare under our own umbrella, and we've been in for almost 15 years, doing groups that have to do with addictions, recovery, anxiety, depression. We're both health and wellness coaches. We wrote a book called Fit and Faith. We've done missions to Africa, taught at Bible colleges in Africa, AIDS orphanages. So that's when things really started to, get deep, I should say.
Yeah. So tell me more about this Fit and Faith thing that you've got going on. How can, what are you doing specifically with that?
Yeah, we wrote a book. Really, the foundation of the book was we saw that, especially, in the world, but in churches, people were literally limping to the finish line. So churches are teaching, of course, we have a lot about spirituality. We deal with some emotions, but we put some under the carpet. But the physical piece, it's like you can't get around and do God's ministry if your body's broken.
Right.
You're not whole. There's mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
So
true.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, we have to this. This isn't about how long we live necessarily, but it's about stewardship. Some people, some of us take better care of our lawn tools than we do our body.
Right.
Just a reality.
Yeah, it's true.
So we decided to write the book with that in mind, part of our own story, recipes, and just kind of an approach to being whole as a person. And we released it in 2018. Get it on Amazon.
It's awesome.
We do seminars where we do education, we do exercise classes, interactive, question and answer. And, we do cooking together, 3 or 4 meals together to show people how to do this, because a lot of times you can throw information at somebody, and that recipe.
Right.
My wife also has a creative recipe book out as well. That's how that came about, and that's what we're doing with it now.
That's incredible. Now, how did you figure out how to do all that? How did you figure out, hey, we want to write a book, and how do we get it out there? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that want to write books. How did you just worked it out? I mean, did you write it yourselves? Did you have a ghostwriter? How did that go?
No, actually, I ghost wrote a book for a guy named Peter Nielsen, who he used to train people like Joe Montana, Jacqueline Smith. He was a celebrity trainer. He was a health guy. So I met him. I ghost wrote a book for him. And then, I was used to writing. I've always done writing off and on.
Yeah.
But when we started, actually, our journey started about this, I really think, for this book a number of years before. We met a couple at church who we were watching this line of people get in line for healing. It was for backaches, headaches. And a guy came up to me and said, they don't need prayer, they need water. And so I said, what are you talking about? So they were raw food vegans who were health ministers through an organization called Hallelujah Acres. So that kind of started to put the pieces together for the book. And that's how it started. And I just put ideas together, chapter ideas, and story, it just came, bit by bit. It probably took us a few months to write it. And my wife did all the recipes. I did a lot of the content of the book and the stories and whatnot, but just came together over time. We worked on it together like we do with everything.
That's awesome.
And we have a friend of ours who's in the ministry who's an editor. I'm an idea guy. If you
Yep.
gave me a job as an editor, I'd be in a loony bin. So
Right.
that's she took that over and
Yeah.
ourselves and put it out. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Now, so who do you've given me in the audience so much, right? So who do you think that, I mean, there's many different audiences that your story and your journey can help. Who are you thinking, that should be paying attention to this?
Wow. I think on a whole, I mean, from teens to 80s, people should be paying attention to their life, what they're made for, taking care of their body. But what I've seen is a lot of people, they're struggling with who they are, their why.
Yeah.
Why should I take care of my health? I mean, I'm just this, I'm just there. Why should I start a business or whatnot? I think it comes down to that. It's knowing your why, helping people come out of that. They feel like they have no purpose. And I do think a lot of times with the model we have in America, this 9-to-5 model, we go to school, we do a job, we do that. It's kind of mechanical all the way through, takes us away from who we really are. We're on this hamster wheel of sorts. So I think it's, really for people who want to find out their why. And that puts into place like, hey, I have a book idea. I have a business idea. Hey, this body matters and I can do better.
That's awesome. So any final thoughts as far as, as far as any final message that you wanted to put out there to people?
Yeah, just that I know there's people listening who are saved, who are not saved, but that, declarations, positive thinking, and that it's all good in itself. But to know the Lord is what I want everybody to know, because you can have all these trappings, you can have a muscular body and everything else, but it really doesn't matter without a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. So that's the message I would say that I want to get out to everyone. And that God made you in his image. He loves you. A lot of people they think God is either slightly or greatly irritated with them all the time.
Right.
And he's really chasing us down. I know he did that with me in my rebellion. He chased me down.
Yeah.
But a relationship with Jesus Christ, that's the message of my whole life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So how can I help you? How can we get people, buying? Is it contacting you? Do you want people? I mean, are you open to someone maybe struggling through something similar that you've gone through, reaching out to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do personal life coaching, group coaching. We have our website, which is lifecarechristiancenter.org. That's lifecarechristiancenter.org. We have Life Care Christian Center on Facebook.
Okay.
So you can get a hold of us through the website and Facebook. And also I have a coaching page called The Real Room Life Coaching.
Okay.
You can find me there. And I would say, look for Mike Smith, but it would take you probably 6 years.
And you said that's The Real Room Life Coaching?
Yes.
Okay. And where's that?
That's on Facebook.
Okay. On Facebook as well.
And I'm on Instagram. It's Mike Smith 6168.
Mike Smith 6168. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all this information in the show notes. I'll also put a link to your Amazon if we're going to get a book, for your book. So just in case people want to pick that book up, and any other links of either it being able to connect with you and, reach out to you in some way, shape or form. But I appreciate you and your time and sharing your journey. I just know that there's going to be people that this serves. It served me. I mean, there was definitely some points in there that I teared up a little bit, because I can relate to maybe some mindset that you had gone through your youth, and maybe just some things of me battling cancer. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here and sharing that story. So without further ado, this is John Kraus at True Story Bro. I appreciate you guys listening in. Please give us some stars, follow our podcast, and we will We will look forward to seeing you in the next episode.